Welcome back, friends, to another sort of Convallaria video. If you saw my last video, then you already know who I've been using for the launch month of the game. That begs the question, though, who am I looking forward to? Who's going to get my pulls? Who's going to get my pities? If you saw the thumbnail, you're probably not going to be too surprised, but I want to take the time in this video to give you a reason why I am looking forward to these characters. And to do that, and actually to introduce the first character, is my own personal dog over here, my best friend. This is actually Momo. If you've been on live streams with me, you've probably seen him come up a couple times. And yes, indeed, Momo is the first character that I am looking forward to pull. Just so happens it was announced that she is going to be on a dual banner here in just a couple of days' time from the time that I'm recording this. So before the best Momo in the world, hi buddy, happens to take a little nap over here, he's asked you to like and subscribe to this video. I'm only 65 people away from hitting that good 1,000 mark. So Momo, thank you for your time today. We're going to talk about the other Momo, okay? Why don't you go take a nap? Okay, so here we are. We're on the Loot and Waifus site. So Momo's already in the game. A lot of you probably already even have her, and hopefully you've come to enjoy her kit like I hope to someday as well. And so why do I want this character? She's not often ranked in the top tiers, although she does have some particular things she's great at. First of all, character design, that's a big driver for me. If I look at her art, it's just really cool looking. Also, as you saw, my dog is Momo, so a little bit of bias on this one. But then when I look through her kit, something I just personally like is dot type damage. In a lot of games that I play, I like those dot based characters. And it just so happens that Momo is particularly strong at it. And on top of that, just has some other cool things in her kit. When you get the final skill, so a lot of you are probably getting close to this by this point if you've been playing since launch, you get this here, and this is Doom Waken. And I'm not going to go through every single power, but I do want to cover this one in particular. And this is a buff that increases attack, gives you lifesteal, inflicts alert on a 3-tile radius, which is huge, and 3 times around it's going to do 70% magic damage to whoever comes into this area that she's in this alert area. And so she's able to pump out some really serious damage on characters as they come in her alert range. If you look at her passive, she gets this effect where characters around her are taking more dot damage, and she gets repulsion barrier, which makes her immune to knockback, which is fantastic on maps with lots of ledges. And she gets this stacking mechanic where she can go up to 5 stacks, and each stack gives her 2% extra attack. She blocks physical attacks and reduces damage taken by 50%. Now, 1 stack's removed after each attack, but this makes her very tanky. So she becomes this tanky dot dealing character who also has a great alert, so you can stick her in a key place on a map and let people just come in and take damage. And then she has a couple other cool abilities as well. So when I think about builds for her, I'm probably going to do something with the innate skill, which again is a way to apply infection, which can be very, very strong. I've looked at this skill here, which is erosive power, and this is a passive so that after dealing damage, I stack on another piece of infection. We've got repulsion application, and this one's neat. This is like a push-pull mechanic. So basically you pick a particular tile in a certain range and you deal damage, and you can either knock enemies back for 2 tiles, or you can choose to pull them in. So back reversely, that's a weird way to say it. Pull targets in, and you're giving them move down 2 as you do it. So they, can move 2 less squares. So this is just a very interesting mechanic that I don't see on other kits. And then her reaction is very cool as well. So whenever she blocks a melee attack, she does a strike back, which also does damage and gives infection. So Momo, again, it's my dog, just in sort of Convallaria form apparently, and an awesome infection-based damage dealer, dot damage, with a wicked cool Doom Waken ability that just gives an amazing alert skill. So that's Momo. That's the first character I'm looking forward to. Now, will I take her to pity? That's a big question, and I threw it on the thumbnail there. I don't think so. And it's not because I don't want her, it's because she's on a dual banner. And the issue with dual banners, I know some of you have unfortunately faced this yourselves, is you can get all the way to the first pity, get the other character, and then potentially get all the way back to a pity again before you get the character you want. There's no guarantee you're going to get it in between. And I've had people send me in Discord pictures of their pulls where they got 2 or 3 of the other character they didn't want before they ever got the one they did. And so I think it's caught people a little bit off guard. that you can put that much into a dual banner before you actually get the character you want. So I'm thinking I might take 100 pulls on this one, 50 to 100, somewhere in that particular range. I'm unfortunately due for some bad luck after that Simona pull banner. Check that one out on the videos there if you haven't seen it. And so this one I'm definitely going to pull on here in a couple of days, but I won't go all the way to a guaranteed pity and, end up pulling both characters in the process. Hopefully luck favors me a bit before that. So this will take us to our second character, and the next character that I'm really excited for, and rumor has it she's coming very soon, is Coco. Now, there's not been a confirmed Twitter post or anything like that I've seen, but just being around other creators, I saw somebody post a video from the JP server. I'm not going to say who it is. I'm not going to call them out, but they did show that this banner's coming. Now that's subject to change. Devs can always change up banners, but it gets me excited because this is Coco and I really want Coco. Why do I want Coco? Well, first of all, again, it goes back to design. This is like a outdoor cooking, camping type character. She's got a frying pan that she hits people with. She's throwing out food. I actually really like the Mytha food thing as well. Apparently, I just like to eat. You tell me if that's a good or bad thing over here. And I just think she reminds me of almost like an alchemy type character in the way that her design flows. And so I think aesthetically, very cool looking character, very fun character, spirited. And it just so happens she's also top tier. I'll show some pictures of Dotato's tier list later, all the credit to him, but I'll kind of show where these people rank. But spoiler alert, she's up on the top and she's a great tank. So let's pull her up on the Billy game website. So this, fair warning, this is a site that's being translated by Google. Lots of things are going to look kind of funky on here. So I'm going to do my best to kind of give a summary. Some things will be worded differently when it hits the real game. But ultimately, she is centered around a few things. One is her passive or her key trait. Now, I will tell you and I will warn you and I'll scream it from the heavens, you need to get her to 5 stars. If you are going to pull on Coco, do not anticipate her being at her best or her strongest unless you have 5 stars. Now, does that mean I tell you to pull duplicates? No, not unless you're a whale. But make sure you throw her in your memory retrieval quickly because it takes up to 100 days or more, depending on what level you're at, to get all of the shards necessary to get them to 100. But when she is, and again, these terms may change because this is just translated by Google, she has this effect, which is happiness. So her HP has increased. She's a tanking character. And at the start of the round, 2 allies with the lowest percentage of health gain breakfast, which is a buff, a heal buff, bento, or this might be called something else like lunch, I don't know, which restores more health, and they get happiness. Now, happiness is really cool. What this does is it reduces cooldown by 1 and energy consumption by 1. So you've got somebody who is out there healing people that need it, giving them those great effects, but then also giving them energy and reducing cooldown. That's really strong. It's definitely a great effect that you may want in your kit. Now, is she absolutely mandatory? No, but she's going to be very, very helpful. She also has a couple other key powers. And again, translations are what they are, but I want to show them to you either way. So she has Coco's treasure box, or whatever they name this at. And it's really cool because it pops up a little menu and you get to pick which of these skills you use. A couple characters have functionality like this. And you get to use each of these a certain amount of times per battle, and you'll probably rotate them depending on the situation. And what they are is the first is this elastic bandage, which is a single target heal based on the caster's health. You have a traditional Chinese medicine, which again is a heal, but also restores energy. There is Alpine Snow Lotus, which dispels debuffs, gives damage 3 up, damage reduction 3, immunity to attribute debuffs, and you can use this, and it lasts for 3 turns. You can use it 3 times a battle. And then Magic Mushroom, which is a single target attack, which does penetrating damage, 30% of the target's health, applies sleep, which lasts for a round, which can be very powerful. I don't think a lot of people use sleep in a lot of their kits, but it's a really cool effect. Gives infection, and again, can be used 3 times. And so you can buff or heal or give energy back or do damage. But in this one little power, you get the option of versatility depending on the situation that you're in. And that's a huge value, being able to choose between the different things like that. She also has things like a knockback. So a lot of people like that, obviously, for sending people flying off of maps. She has a couple other skills that ultimately I probably won't pick up. And again, I'm not going to go through absolutely everything here, but she does block. So if you're used to someone like Mytha taking damage for you, again, this is a tank that also has block, so you'll be very accustomed to what that does for you. On her reaction, she has things like after being attacked by a single target attack, heals itself and one other friendly unit with the lowest health percentage. This is really strong because she's basically taking the hit and then healing herself and others. I don't personally like the receive so much damage reduction from range. It's not bad. It's just not game breaking or anything like that. She does have an aura if you want to throw that, if that suits your team. She has another move that has a chance to inflict, this says dizziness, but I think that's stun in the live version. That can be very strong as a disruption type tool. An armor breaking skill, and then she has Iron Pot Stew, which heals allies within 3 squares of the caster for 30% of her health, which again, if you bump up her health as a tank, this just becomes more effective. And it gives critical hit 2 among some other benefits. And so this is a way to give crit hit chance to other characters, which is not the most common buff to directly apply to units. So overall, a very strong support character, cool design, fun design. I'm looking forward to pull her. And then you ask, will I pity this character? Will I go all the way to 180? Yes, I will. I like tanks. It's one of my favorite archetypes in any kind of game. And she has all that added support flavor as well. And I just see so many opportunities to have her shine in different team party compositions, such as weapon trials, tower, etc. And I do know that the big thing for her, though, is getting her to 5 stars. And so I'm going to pity her. I'm going to throw her in my memory retrieval, whatever it's called, and she's going to sit there until she is sitting at 5 stars. I'd rather get her now and invest in her early than hope to pull her later and then be behind the ball on the duplicate game, if you will. So that was Coco. And that brings us to our final character. Again, going back to the thumbnail, it wasn't clickbait. It's Auguste. So Auguste design, he is just a menace and I'm all for it. He's got this massive 2-handed sword looking thing, although it looks like he's holding it with one hand. And if you've heard me talk about Magnus, I love that archetype where it's just the big knight with, you know, a giant sword, giant axe, giant hammer, things like that. So when I saw his character artwork, I right away said, I need to get this guy in my crew. Now he is top tier DPS. There is no denying that. But like Coco, he needs to get the 5 star. So I'm telling you this multiple times because I want you to realize that some of these characters require an investment. And if you want to pull them and use them at peak efficiency and see all the cool stuff other people are doing, it's not going to happen until you get them to 5 stars. But again, like Coco, I'm going to drop him in my team if I get him early and just start farming those shards, you know, from day one of having him in roster. So let's dive over to his powers here on the Billy side again, and let's jump straight into his level 5 trait because you're going to need to get there. It ignores block, and each turn basically he's getting a layer of rage up to 6 stacks. And when he hits 6 stacks, after you use a move, he's going to get to go again. So you got a damage dealer who has a self-sustaining way to periodically do another churn. And you'll see through his kit how he can kind of really exploit this. After he uses up this rage, he also gets Rage Burst 3, which gives more damage basically, and also armor piercing. So now he's even more effective than he was before he had this rage effect going. It lasts for 2 rounds and it gives back 2 energy points, and he starts the battle with 4 layers of rage, which means he's going to get the 6 stacks really quickly. So you got to give him the 5 stars. And what he has that I really love, and I'll talk about some of his other parts of his kit here in a second, but if you've played Rawia and you've used that move, maybe it's Gale Burst, I forget the name off the top of my head, where she uses the move and then she gets that transformed to something else, he has a similar mechanic. His innate skill is whatever they call it, but Divine Wrath instant ability, physical damage, and it selects an enemy within like a cross pattern. You charge to it, you do 40% damage and knockback. Then the ability changes to the second form, which causes 85% damage to everybody in a 3x2 area, gives physical defense 2 down, which now makes his attacks that much more potent, and then again turns into a third version, which is an even stronger single target attack that does 160% damage, also causes 80% damage to other targets, and knocks them back an additional square. That's insane. That's like a 1, 2, 3 combo from hell that this guy is doing. And keep in mind, you can still buff him. You can still already debuff enemies. And so he is just going to come in and just wreck some face. And he's doing it with style. He's got that awesome giant sword. I'm looking forward to just seeing this combo in action once, he comes to the game, hopefully in the not too distant future. Some other key powers within his kit. You've got his ultimate, which is God's Wrath, the heavens and earth are destroyed. I actually kind of hope they keep that label. That's pretty cool. 90% damage to all enemies in a 3x4. Before attacking, I think this is meant to say that he removes 2 buffs from the enemy and has a chance to inflict dizziness. It's only a 50% chance. Who knows if it's going to hit or not? You can't really bank on it, but it's just a nice little added effect. And a really strong AoE, 90% in the 3x4 area. He also has really good support skills for himself, such as this Nightmare, which gives him 2 layers of rage. So again, you're starting with 4. This will bring you to 6 right away, so you can just come in and start wreaking havoc. This gives him a physical shield, buffs his damage, and buffs his survivability. So all in one move, you're getting shields, increased damage, decreased damage to yourself. Very, very strong. You've got Scornful, which is a reaction skill, which reduces damage taken by 15, and when you're attacked, you get a layer of rage, which can take effect up to twice per round. So again, you're going to burn your rage, probably take a couple of hits, get some more back, and now you're just getting yourself ready for that ultimate kind of destructive power over and over again. Also has an aura, so again, you can slot him into teams where that matters, kind of play around the effects or whatever. He's got this Tearing Whirlwind, which is another AoE move. With everything else in the kit, it might be hard to fit in some of these good moves. And for his other passive, this is your cup of tea, he gets what they're calling penetrating damage, which is just damage straight to the HP bar. It's ignoring physical magical defense for 15% of target's current health and gives him 10% of its own health back. So overall, you've got somebody who's capable of just doing mass destruction to enemies on the field, particularly in single target, who has the ability to be buffed even further to be even that much greater. But again, it is necessary to get him to 5 stars to see this potential. I don't want you to pull in a character like this or Coco and sit back and say, oh yeah, I'll just take them to 3 stars, take me a month or whatever, and they'll be fine, because they're not going to be. They're not going to be. You need to get the 5 stars. But if you make that investment, you've got a powerhouse. And so the last thing I want to show you, just so you have a context of kind of where they rank in the current game, is if we go over to some charts that Dotato put out, he did an amazing guide on the current tier list. Go check out his YouTube, give him a sub, take a look at the video if you haven't seen it already. But ultimately, Momo is a great daily map clear kind of person. Again, she's not going to be tier 1 everything, but this is a personal favorite of mine, and it's nice to see that she has a particular niche that she is incredibly strong at. If you're not into PvP, I'm not really into PvP, then you're going to see on this tier list that Momo is kind of, I don't know, tier 2-ish. So again, I'm not necessarily picking everybody that's meta, but Auguste is a solid tier 1.5 up here, and Coco's tier 0.5. So very strong units. And something I've realized in this game at this point is really your tier 1s, 1.5s, all the way up to 0s. Those are all great units. The fact that they're not all T0, it's not that bad. You see people using bronze units in the hardest content at the moment. Now, when Tower of Adversity comes out, or whatever they're calling it, you're going to need some more meta-type characters. And so Coco just happens to be one of them up there. And then if we look at the no-cost consideration, because again, these are units that you do need to get to 5, Auguste just flies through the roof. When he is fully built, he is destructive. And then you'll see Coco is just a slight bit behind him, again, fully built out. Oh, and I forgot to mention, am I going to pity Auguste? That's a tricky one. I want to. It's going to depend on my gems. I am not in the creator program, so I don't necessarily get like the free gems or anything like that. And so I've been very strategic about what I'm spending on. And it's a big reason why I'm not going to go to pity on Momo, all the way up to a double pity or whatever it is. It's because I do want to go to pity on Coco and then hopefully have enough save to do it on Auguste. Now, something else that you may be asking is, well, what about Sophia? Everyone's talking about Sophia. There's, thoughts or rumors that she may be coming soon as well. Again, I have no foresight into what will happen. I'm just going off of what I'm hearing. And I would love to have her. I may throw a few gems at her banner just depending on what my personal situation is at that time. And she is absolutely top tier damage. You will not go wrong pulling for Sophia. But for me personally, some of this is just my game enjoyment. And I just like the Auguste archetype. I like the Coco, design work and things like that. And how am I not going to pull for Momo? You saw my dog. You'd be insulted if I didn't at least try to get him, right? So at the end of the day, I would love Sophia. I hope I get her at some point, but I just don't see, unless she's like months away, the gem income being that favorable to me. And that's something you have to consider as well as you look at your account and your progression and where your needs are met or not met with your current roster. Is if you're free to play or a low spender like I am, I think I'm maybe 20, 25 bucks in, then you're going to have to make some choices on who you prioritize, and then maybe throw some hope and prayers for the rest to get them into your roster. So great unit. I would love to have her, but I am personally going to go for Auguste. I'm personally going to go for Coco, and I'm going to cross my fingers for a Momo. So I don't know, maybe that perspective helps you a little bit. I would love for you to jump in the comments. Tell me a bit about who you're looking forward to. Are there people that you're saving your gems for? Who are you willing to go to pity for in the next couple of months if their banners come out? And who are these top units that you might just want to skip, that you hear all the rumblings about and say, you know what? They're not for me. And by the way, while you're down there, would love, again, that like and sub. We're so close to hitting that 1K mark. And once I do, I've got that live stream plan that I'm going to come out with. So again, thank you for spending your time with me. I hope that my videos bring you value, and I'll see you on the next one.